There's two different offenses, and that doesn't work for anybody. Like, you're splitting the time teaching the pistol stuff and teaching the regular stuff because Johnny can't do the regular stuff, and now
you're stealing away from an offensive unit that
right.
needs the timing to be
exactly.
proper. The proper preparation prevents poor performance. J-Rock, it's
agree.
the 5 P's, man. Let me repeat that: proper preparation prevents poor performance. And I know what you're saying about Shanhan, and I can't place this all on the feet of Mike Pettine, but let me tell you one thing, J-Rock Daddy. The very first guy that gets the axe at the end of the season usually is the head coach. So if we can't place it all on the feet of Mike Pettine, he's the boss. Crap runs downhill, J-Rock Daddy.
I know that.
The boss has to set the rules. The boss has to make sure that the place is functioning properly in order for anything to be effective. And that's the way it is. That's the pecking order. And like I said, I don't need to say it again. That's the first guy that gets the axe when things don't go properly. And I got to tell you, if things continue to go the way they're going now, I don't think they're going to go very properly. And I'm looking for another dismal season unless this defense is so power-packed that they can control these games and that they can score some points. Because I tell you, if we have to have it all offensively and we don't get something happening quick with Hoyer, I'm telling you, Hoyer looked better in week 1 than he looked yesterday, man.
Not just Hoyer, the entire offense regressed from week 1 to week 2. Absolutely.
Who brings the continuity to the offense, J-Rock Daddy?
In this offense, I don't know. Apparently, nobody does. That's my point.
Usually speaking, it's the quarterback. The quarterback's the orchestration. He's the maestro in the middle, and he's the one that's got to get things going. If he doesn't get things going properly, you forget about it, man. It's a loose thing like we saw last night, man. It was sloppy football, and I'm not excited about the Cleveland Browns offensive unit right now, especially if the game plan. Now, let's take it a step further. Pettine says after the game, he probably isn't going to name a starter yet. He probably needs one more week of this garbage we saw last night before he. And I tell you, all that's going to do is further dilute whatever continuity that this Cleveland Browns offense had before what we saw last night happened.
I got to tell you, I don't think they're going to wait. I don't know what they tell the media or whatever, but I think that they're going to, regardless, at this point, you got to realize that you have 2 games in 11 or 12 days from each other, and then that's it. And then you're to the season. So at this point, it's the lesser of 2 evils. It's, which do you want to do you want to go all in with Manziel in week 1 or not? And I don't think that the Browns are going to be ready to do that.
Well, first of all, let's take it back a step. Manziel himself said he wasn't going to be ready for week 1. J-Rock,
can I finish? Can I finish? LG?
Absolutely.
I'm just messing with you, man. But you're right, and he said that too. But I mean, that is clear as day. And I mean, and I'm telling you, I'm not saying this to hurt anybody's feelings about your boy. And I mean, I have my own issues.
Who's my boy?
No, not you. I'm talking to everybody. I'm joking about Manziel. But he looks like a kid still catching up to things out there. And if you don't see that in his face, then you're just lying to yourself. I mean, he is completely a step behind of everything out there, and the frustration with him flipping the bird came out too, and that's not going to do him any favors. Number one, not that he worried about money, but that's going to cost him his first 5-figure fine for sure. But it didn't do well with a coaching staff that preaches, don't
lose your composure.
Well, composure, professional, act like you've been there, do it, all of that kind of stuff. Didn't help him anyway there either. And
let's just reiterate something about flipping the bird, J-Rock, because a lot of people, Browns fans put up with a lot. We put up with a lot of losing.
Yeah, you got that right.
And some of them actually think that this flipping the bird was a great thing. But here's what I want to tell you about that. All that did was make the bullseye on Manziel's chest a little bit
came
bigger,
after
man.
him, brother, and they came after him more after that. I said the same thing. But you know what? I do want to say, in a comical moment, have you guys seen the video of him on the sideline being told that he was caught on camera flipping the bird? It's classic. He's standing there,
and then you could read his lips.
Yes,
that he said the F word after the PR guy was telling him.
But the look on his face was priceless. Yeah. It was like you scripted it, because the guy whispers something in his ear and he goes, "What?" Oh man, like the look on his face is like
he didn't say, "Oh man, J-Rock."
Oh, I know that's not what he said, but I can't say what he said.
Let's just talk about this for 1 second. This was Monday Night Football.
Yes, it was.
It's not often that the Cleveland Browns are spotlighted when the other 31 teams in the NFL are probably sitting around their television sets watching Monday Night Football, J-Rock, because it's not often that you're playing a football game when 31 other teams have the night off. Now, if you play in the NFL, J-Rock Daddy, and Monday Night Football comes on, there's a good probability you're sitting in front of a TV set with some of your teammates doing whatever it is you do and watch Monday Night Football. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, my timeline was full of players on other teams that were watching the game last night on Twitter. So
now you have 31 other teams looking at Johnny Football flipping the bird to the Washington Redskins, who laughed. I mean, it was funny at the moment. But I got to tell you something, man. And, I know I'm being disrespectful by saying this, but that kind of behavior reminds me of a punk. A punk on the street who's getting his butt kicked, who turns around, runs halfway down the street, and then turns around and calls you names. I
swear, let me jump in.
When you're going to Element. Huh?
Let me interrupt you, because I was talking to my brother, and I swear I said almost what you said. I said, you know what? It'd be one thing if he was, he's got moxie. He jumps up and starts yelling in your face. But he just ran away. And then, as he was sneaking into his mom's car, by the way, here's the bird. And then he runs because he knows he doesn't have to pay the price for it. You know what I mean? I did feel
Absolutely. And all that does is infuriate all these other defensive guys that are probably looking at each other going, "Oh, man, did you see that punk? Wait till we get our hands on him, man." You saw it right in the beginning of the Manziel series, man. They come in, they sack the guy, they're making the Manziel money. They're taunting him throughout the entire game. Now, he's either going to have to learn to live with the reputation that he built for himself by doing some of the stupid stuff that he's pulled to bring all this media attention to him, or he's going to have to be one heck of a great football player so that these people don't have time to taunt Johnny Manziel. But I got to tell you, that's going to take time to develop, if it ever does develop, because personally speaking, J-Rock, I don't know if you saw the post on the Cleveland Sports 360 site this morning. To me, it feels like the Cleveland Browns did what they've been doing best for the last several years, and that's wasted another first-round draft pick on a player that probably will never develop into what they thought that this player's potential was going to be.
Well, I will say it's way too early to make a bottom-line statement like that. You know what, J-Rock? How many people told me it was way too early after the very first preseason game on August 12th of 2012 when I said Brandon Whedon is a bust? How many people told me that was way too early? Well, that's fine. I didn't think he was any good either, and I didn't want the Browns to draft Manziel, but I like enough of what I've seen that I'm not going to sit here and just cut off whatever potential. I don't know what he may turn into, man, but, I mean...
He's going to turn into a giant injury.
That's quite possible. That's quite possible. But look, man, I'm not going to sit here and jump off the bridge off of a preseason. The last few years, the Browns have had quarterbacks go out there and look great in weeks 1 and 2 of the preseason and then stink when it counts. So I'd rather they stink in the preseason and show up when it counts. And that's what I'm hoping may happen for a difference here. But, let's see what happens in the one game where people actually try in the preseason, the first half of the third game. Let's see what they do. Because that's where your smoke alarm should start going off. But, they have to get on the same page, period. Like, whether it's cutting the play calls down, whether it's cutting the whole playbook in half, I don't know. We joked about Byron Scott never got around to installing the Princeton offense because he was keeping it basic, and he never actually went past that. Well, maybe they need to basic this thing up, not just for Manziel. From what I hear and from what reports and people that work with him is he is a relatively bright guy. He's got a decent football IQ, talking about Johnny. He's able to pick things up. He may have to learn them and absorb them for a while, but, Brian Hoyer coming through Ignatius, he's a smart kid. Both of these quarterbacks are having trouble at some point here, complicating.
Well, I think what it boils down to, if you remember when Hoyer talked about Shanahan coming into the Browns organization as the offensive coordinator, Hoyer was very familiar with the terminology of the Shanahan playbook. I don't think we had a deal of Hoyer not understanding play calls. I think what it was Hoyer not being able to take enough reps with the guys out there on the field to develop that tightness that you need.
No, it's not
you saw it from both quarterbacks throwing the ball behind the receivers, man.
It doesn't matter. Guys aren't lining up in the right place. I disagree. I think the calls that are coming in, not all 11 players know what the hell they mean. I don't care what way you want to look at it. When Jordan Cameron's lining up behind the center in the wrong place and Joe Thomas is jumping off sides and the center's snapping the ball on 3 instead of 4, that means that they don't all know what play was just called. Now, you can say Brian Hoyer didn't call it right in the huddle. I doubt that completely. What I think it is, did you guys notice last night there was a little 30-second bit with Gruden and Manziel where Gruden asked him to take some simple standard NFL play calls and tell you what they are called in the Browns offense. And they took like 3-word things. He would, and I'm making these up, but he would be like, so what would zebra 430 be in the Browns offense? And then Manziel goes, man, that would be 37 red, blue 32, statue on the side, up, down 37. And I'm like, what in the world is all that? And tell me that all of these guys know where they're supposed to be. There's no way. Obviously, there is some miscommunication in this offense, and it's not just the quarterbacks.
Well, it just goes to show you, J-Rock Daddy, there's a reason that Shanahan was available for hire. There's a reason the Cleveland Browns picked the coaching staff that they wanted. Picked the coaching staff that they didn't want, the one that they had to settle on. And I'll tell you, man, it's going to be growing pains. And I just don't see, unless they get back to business tomorrow and say, okay, we're going to work with Hoyer as the number one quarterback. I think it's deserving. I think he has enough mental capabilities to understand what's supposed to be going on. I think the whole offense as a unit needs to gel together. I mean, people don't look at preseason the way they did when we were growing up, J-Rock. That was where you earned your job, and that's where the football team got tight and ready for competition before the season started then.
Absolutely.
So
that's why
if we go into Pittsburgh with this garbage we saw last night, we'll be the laughing stock of the NFL again this year. We can't take on Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1 with anything that resembles what we saw last night, man.
I agree. Trust me, I agree. No matter which way they're going to go, they've got to get on the same page today and then move that way tomorrow. I mean, think about it. Tomorrow's Wednesday. You're playing on Saturday, man. You've got Wednesday, and that's the other reason why I think that they're going to go with Hoyer for this third game. You will have 2 days of practice. You will have Wednesday and Thursday. You'll walk through on Friday, and your game's on Saturday, man. So I don't think that
even if you look at like what happened last night, when was the last time in a preseason game you saw the starting quarterback relinquish his duties to the second string guy, and then the starting quarterback come back into a preseason football game? I've never seen that before. Have you, J-Rock?
No.
Other than injury.
No, their attempt was to try to get them each another series. Just the clock actually worked out funny from the beginning. It actually worked out.
Right.
I really thought everything worked out in Manziel's favor at first because I'm like, man, offense went too quick, 3 and outs, and then they had a quick turnover. So the Browns actually had the ball twice in the first 5 minutes of the game. I'm going, man, these guys may both get 2 series in the first quarter. and then switch off again in the second quarter. And that seemed like what the Browns thought they may be able to do. But then there was that